Hi everyone, it is Shaz here from Customer Journeys AI. I basically work directly with service businesses to deploy AI systems which help with reducing operational drag within their business and also to improve business outcomes like driving more revenue or improving conversion rates. So I want to talk to you today about one of my customers. They're a UK-based HVAC contractor, and they're based in Yorkshire. So they're currently buying a ton of leads through Meta. They're running lots of marketing campaigns and it's delivering loads of leads, which is great. But the big issue they have is response time. So they're never getting back to these inquiries within minutes. In fact, it sometimes takes them hours or even more than that, maybe days before they actually get a response. And by that time, you could imagine they usually lost the business. So my resolution for them was a AI agent which would act as the front line to be able to handle these leads on their behalf, and the results were kind of speak for themselves. We've seen over the last few weeks 38 leads, which has resulted in 7 booked AC installations into their job management system directly via the agent at 2.5k average deal value. Now, the reason this is such an issue, not just for these guys, but also for trades businesses in general, is lead value decay, because by the minute the lead value decays, and this is proven across many statistics. You can go and research them for yourself. But if you're getting a lead in, say at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and your office is stretched, your engineers are on site, obviously you're not going to respond to that lead until later on or the following day. By that time, that customer's gone to 3 other competitors, got a quote, and the fitter is already booked. So you've lost that job. And what makes it worse is you've paid for that job as well. So you're paying for all this marketing, you're generating all these leads, and you're just not closing that business. So the job of the agent really is to help you close this business within minutes so that you don't lose it. There are a few definitions that we need to think about. So when you think about AI, there's the realm of workflow automation, there is chatbot, and there is agent. The workflow is, if you're using a make.com or a Zapier, you can set up some if this then that deterministic automations that will do something smart, but it's fixed. It can easily break as well if there's any issues within that chain. So it might be that you get a lead through your marketing campaign and you want to send a follow-up email. That can be automated quite easily. A chatbot is ChatGPT as an example, which is a large language model, and turn by turn you can send a prompt or a message and it will respond to that. Sounds very convincing, although sometimes it will hallucinate convincingly, so you have to be careful about those things. But it understands language and it's brilliant, in terms of if you want to answer questions. An agent is what we did. What we integrated with this HVAC company. It has agency to pursue a specific goal, right? And it will use things like tools like their job management system to achieve that specific goal. It perceives, it reasons, it acts, it remembers, and it can escalate. So that's what makes an AI agent, different to a chatbot and also a typical workflow automation. And the way it does that is through what is known as the agent loop, which I'm sure you've heard of many times. But the core mechanism here is it will perceive first. So it reads, let's say in this example, is reading a message from WhatsApp from the specific customer. It can also look at that entire thread, and it will reason through that. So it will work out, well, based on what I'm being told, what do I do? What's the next action? And then it will call on a specific tool. So it will look at the job management system. Is it, for example, Tradeify or Jobber? And it will check availability of an engineer for a specific slot. And then it will observe and it will say, did it work? And if so, what's the new state? Booked. Customer's now booked in the diary. If there's any issue within this loop, so it will continue through this loop until it achieves this objective, it can exit. And the condition might be just doesn't have enough information, or it can't handle that query successfully, so it hands off to a human, also known as human in the loop. So the stack I use to build this is based off one channel essentially feeding this agentic brain. Multiple channels are feeding this agentic brain. So the one I want to focus on is Meta, but this did work across WhatsApp leads that were coming in, phone calls that were coming in, text messages that were coming in, web chat, so on and so forth. So it can be multi-channel, but I want to focus on the Meta lead ad piece. This is ingested, and then the control plane, the agentic brain has two things working together. So it's got the deterministic state machine that basically, in layman's terms, just makes sure that what it's doing is allowed. And then you have the Claude API, and that is basically deciding what's best to do within that specific rule set and those guardrails. And then all of that state is held within Postgres, Supabase, and then obviously we have this isolated per client. So the critical piece about this is it kind of sits on top of all the tools that they already have running within the firm. So it was using their existing job management system, and that can remain the system of record. So we're not asking them to rip that out and build something from scratch. We're layering on top, so it becomes something that complements their current tool set. And talking a bit more about the state machine and why it's safer than just a pure LLM doing the job for us. The problem with a pure LLM is that if it's left to its own devices, it can confidently hallucinate. So it can sound very convincing, but actually it's hallucinating and doing the incorrect thing for the customer. For example, it may say there's a time slot, but there isn't a time slot. It's not checked. It's not tool called the job management system to check. It might negotiate a price. So you might say, well, it's $2,500 is my typical price, but it's offered 50% discount because the customer's asked for a discount. It has no authority to do this. So the fix is you never let the model itself book anything directly. It proposes the action, whereas the deterministic layer commits the action. So the deterministic state machine will check whether that action that it's asked for is a legal action based on the current state. So look, if I simplify this for you, the job management system might say 9 a.m. is available, and the LLM might say, let me check. And then the deterministic layer is saying, yes, it's available. And the LLM is responding to the customer saying, yep, it's available. So you can book that slot. This basically guarantees that it gives the customer a slot that is free and isn't negotiating prices that is not allowed to negotiate. So that's kind of why we don't just use an LLM purely to deliver the capability. Latency is kind of the thing that really wins the deal. So if you look at this full path, you can see initially at 0 milliseconds, the message is going to land from the Meta lead to the WhatsApp inbox of the business. And then at around 80 milliseconds, the webhook queues it and loads the thread and state. And then around 1.8 seconds, the model starts to reason and is going to propose a tool call. Then around 2.4 seconds, it's checking via the state machine which tool is going to be executed, and then the reply is sent back to the customer within 3 seconds. So why this matters, because within 3 seconds, the customer's still kind of just about filled in their lead form, and that lead form detail has gone through to the LLM, who's able to query, for example, their, maybe they put in the lead form a specific date and budget, and they can query that quickly. And the user's still in buying mode, so the answer is going to arrive really quick from the LLM about, yep, that's available, and this price is within the bracket, so this is a lead we should qualify. And that's kind of the whole competitive advantage of speed to lead is it's qualifying and booking the lead much faster than an office team would physically be able to do, or an engineer. And the result obviously is that we get really good conversion rates as a result. So from 38 leads that were handled by the agent, 7 resulted in booked work, which is obviously very high. It doesn't mean it'll always be this high, but we just had a good run, let's just say. So these are kind of some really interesting results. Now, what you've just seen is obviously one of the capabilities of an agent. I have, within customer journeys AI, 3 focus areas: convert, recover, retain. This was a convert, so it's turning that inbound inquiries into book jobs. The same engine can do 2 other things. So it can recover chased stalled quotes. It might be the remedial work. Engineers are basically flag on site, but nobody actually prices up, and it can drive those to decision. Then you can have retain, so retain spot renew spots, renewals that are about to lapse, and the customer has gone quiet, so you can reopen that conversation before it gets lost. And you don't have to switch on all 3 of these at once. So you could go live, for example, with convert, and then do the other 2 later on. But the way I work is typically do the diagnostic first. That looks at where the money is actually stuck within your business, looking at all your workflow and where the biggest opportunities are, and then we build the solution off the back of that. So if you're interested in discussing or just getting help in doing this yourself, just comment below diagnostic, and I'll be in touch with you as soon as possible. You can also just get in touch with me via customerjourneys.ai, and we can have a chat over the phone. So thank you very much.